Long before the events of September 11th, there were twin towers a quarter of a mile high in the sky, and a man, Philippe Petit, who dared to walk across them. The Man Who Walked Between the Towers by Mordecai Gerstein. Once there were two towers side by side. They each were a quarter of a mile high, 1,340 feet, the tallest buildings in New York City. A young man saw them rise into the sky. He was a street performer. He rode a unicycle. He juggled balls and fiery torches. But most of all, he loved to walk and dance on a rope he tied between two trees. He looked not at the towers, but the space between them, and thought, what a wonderful place to stretch a rope on a wire on which to walk. Once the idea came to him, he knew he had to do it. If he saw three balls, he had to juggle. If he saw two towers, he had to walk. That's how he was. Hadn't he danced on a wire between the steeples of the Notre Dame Cathedral above his amazed home city, Paris? Why not here, between these towers? Of course, he knew that as in Paris, the police and owners of the towers would never allow it. You must be crazy, they would say. You'd fall for sure. And so Felipe, that was the young man's name, began a plan to do it secretly. The buildings are not quite finished, he thought. Maybe if I dressed as a construction worker. Early on an August evening, he and a friend entered the South Tower. They got a 440-pound reel of cable and other equipment into the elevator, took it to the unfinished top 10 floors, and waited till nightfall when everyone had gone. They carried everything up 180 stairs to the roof. At midnight, on the other tower's roof, two more friends tied a thin, strong line to an arrow and shot it across to Felipe, 140 feet away. It missed and landed on a ledge 15 feet below the roof. Bad luck, thought Felipe. He crawled down to the ledge over the sparkling city and got the arrow. To its line, he tried a stronger line, which his friends pulled back to their tower. To the end of the stronger line, Felipe tied the cable on which he would walk. It was 5/8 of an inch thick. His friends pulled the cable over to the tower, but it was so heavy that it slipped from Felipe's grip. The cable plummeted towards the street, pulling the friends on the other side of the tower to the very edge. Felipe, just in time, secured his end. It took 3 hours to pull the cable back up. Frantically, as the stars faded, they tightened it between the towers. It was just past dawn before they were ready. Felipe put on his black shirt and tights. He picked up his 28-foot balancing pole. All his life he had wanted to be here, to do this. As the rising sun lit up the towers, out he stepped onto the wire. Out to the very middle he walked as if he were walking on the air itself. Many winds whirled between the towers and swayed with them. As he could feel the towers breathing, he was not afraid. He felt alone and happy and absolutely free. A woman coming from the subway might have been the first to see him. Look, someone walking on a wire between the towers. Everyone stopped and looked up. They gasped and stared. It was astonishing. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. A quarter of a mile up in the sky, someone was dancing. Police saw it too. they shouted through bullhorns, Felipe turned and walked the other way. Who would come and get him? For almost an hour, back and forth, he walked, danced, ran, and knelt in a salute upon the wire. He even lay down to rest. The city and harbor spread beneath him. The sky surrounded him. Seagulls flew under and over. As long as he stayed on the wire, he was free. When he felt completely satisfied, he walked back to the roof and held out his wrists for the handcuffs. They brought him to court. The judge sentenced him to perform in the park for the children of the city. This he did happily, though during his performance, some boys playing on his wire jerked it and Felipe fell. But he caught himself. Now the towers are gone. But in memory, as if imprinted on the sky, the towers are still there. And part of that memory is the joyful morning, August 7th, 1974, when Felipe Petit walked between them in the air.